Welcome, gamers, to this week's episode of Last Call Gaming. We're on episode number 121, recording on January 29th. My name is Craig Perales, and joining me back, I haven't seen the man in about 2 weeks, Ranger Monteman.
It's like, have you seen that? Have you seen We're Back with the dinosaurs?
I fucking love We're Back. Roll back the clock of the dawn of time and sing this song with me.
I love that movie, but I remember it being super scary as a kid, especially that one, Dr. Screw-Eye, or whatever his name is, and he gets like eaten by the crows and shit.
Where we're going with this?
I don't know, but I'm back, we're back.
Oh, I got you. You're back, we're back, we're all back. Yeah, that movie, and I just remember, because John Goodman's in it, he does the T-Rex.
Oh, yeah, he does.
Because as soon as they lose their, like, cartoon personalities, they get, like, vicious.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, I think I saw it in theaters and being like, oh, shit.
I remember loving it, and it has that same, like, weird, like, you're okay with kids running away and living by themselves as, like, all dogs go to heaven when that girl's homeless. Like, all right, cool, she could live homeless with these dogs, and it's fine.
Yeah, the messages they used to send back then. So, guys, if you are joining us today on YouTube, make sure you guys hit like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and do us a favor and share it to as many people as you can so we can keep growing. If you guys are looking to follow us on any of our social media, in the description below is our Linktree link. That'll take you to our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And if you guys are listening to the audio-only version of this podcast, check out Anchor, which is the home for Last Call Gaming, and from there you can get redirected to iTunes or Spotify. But as you guys know, we like to drink beers every time we have a show, and this drink of the week was picked out by Andrew. This is the Oktoberfest from Firestone Walker Brewing Company. It's an 85 on Beer Advocate, which is the site we use to kind of see what the beer is all about. It is a 5.2%. It's a lager Marzen, if I'm saying that correctly. And the notes say, the Oktoberfest is a true German Marzen beer brewed with premium imported Pilsner and Vienna malt and is spiced with Bavarian hop from the motherland. Does this thing taste like it's coming out of the motherland for you? I
actually really like it. It is really good so far. It's got a strong smell, and I was like, I don't know about that at first, but it tastes really, really good. It goes down super smooth. Looking at this now, I feel like the Beer Advocate 85 is like the CGC 9.8.
They're all right in that area, right?
Yeah, like it's the most like common thing you'll see.
The thing I do like is, because I do like a good Oktoberfest, but on the side it says it's an oak-aged lager, and I really feel like you can taste that oak age coming out of this drink.
I felt what better way to celebrate the start of February than with an out-of-date beer.
I gotta do say, it is nice and tasty, and it looks like they're celebrating 25 years of brewing, so hey, here's the 25 for those guys. So, if you guys are watching at home or listening along, grab a beer, drink along with us. If you ever want to recommend a beer, just do it down in the YouTube comments below. And if we can find it, we will find it. So, moving into what are you up to? It's a section where Andrew and I talk about what we've been up to, what we've been playing, what we've been watching. So, I'm going to start this one off. And I went down kind of a nostalgia kick in terms of what I was watching. I went and, because on Netflix, I believe, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1 and 2 and 3 are both on there. But I didn't watch 3. I don't know if I couldn't get myself to do it.
That's the time traveling one?
Yeah, that's a time traveling one. Not that I have a problem with it, but it is significantly weaker compared to the other two. And rewatching 1 and 2, man, I love 1 and 2. They just hold up. Like, they're such good films. And I was listening to another podcast, and they were talking about, like, Turtles and, like, the origins and merchandise and toys, and it was just kind of this interesting blend between what, like, the 80s cartoon did, but keeping in rhythm and style with, like, the original dark comic series that came out with Eastman and Laird. And it's like a perfect hybrid combination of, like, the zaniness that you got with the cartoon, but, like, the dark tones that you get with the comics. And they completely hold up. I love the look of the Turtles. You know,
I think they aged well.
Yeah, I don't really care for the Michael Bay CGI looking ones, like, because if you guys remember, this was, like, actually done by, like, Jim Henson, who's big into, like, the Muppets. Like, he came in and helped do all their outfits. And I was always curious why, like, Geno was in number 2 and they didn't just keep going with Casey Jones. And I guess that that a lot of parents were having problems with, like, how vicious and, like, how dark number 1 was, and how Casey Jones was just kind of like a darker guy. So they, I believe Geno was, like, either the stunt man or one of the guys that would do the stunts for, like, Donatello's character. Mm-hmm. And he was such a big fan that they actually made the role for him to replace Casey Jones. And the other thing I was reading is that they actually took out a lot of the weapon usage because parents and stuff were like complaining about that as well. So when I watched number 2, knowing this, I didn't realize that, a lot of the fights, there are no weapons. I think Donatello is really the only one that uses anything with his bow staff. Like, the sais are gone, the katanas aren't used, and I was like, that's kind of interesting.
I don't really remember I remember the second one, primarily what it's about, the enemies and whatever, but I don't remember the overall flow of the movie. I remember 1 more than 2, especially when he's like, we have a message for you, April O'Neil, and then just slaps the fuck out. I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, I would say 1 is probably still the better of the 2, but
for sure.
They're both fantastic. And the other movie I watched is something that Andrew is going to bring up here in a second, so I'll let him dive into that first. But as far as what I was playing, I just beat Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, which is one of the latest Pokemon games they just did, which was the remake of Diamond and Pearl that they put on the Switch, which they kind of redid with, like, is it chibi art? Is that what you call the art style? And it's got a lot of these like quality of life upgrade changes where the shared XP is still there. One of the biggest advantages was now at any time you can, like, instead of running to Bill's PC, you can just hit into your Pokemon, hit R, and you can start swapping them out right then and there. So the access to getting your Pokemon was a lot faster. One thing I noticed that I don't remember reading about was when you get poisoned, like back in the day, and you were running from the next boss to the next boss, the poison would flash and you would drop.
That's
like,
the most annoying fucking thing.
That's not there anymore. And as much as I loved how streamlined and fast these games are to, like, kind of cruise through now, because I beat this one probably faster than I've ever beaten any Pokemon game. Like, kids these days will never know how hard those old Pokemon games were with grinding out XP instead of share, having to run to Bill's PC to switch out a guy that you wanted to level up or use an HM move, and then the poison and all that stuff. And then now, like, when you beat a boss and they give you, you used to get 1 HM or TM, they give you like 5 at a time now, so you get like a bunch of the moves. So I just recently beat that, so that was the game I beat. Andrew, what have you been up to?
I remember that as a kid because I don't think I got poisoned for the longest time, and then finally it happened, and I'm walking, and then for those of you who don't know, the screen used to like flash and it'd make like a weird like noise, like you're getting electrocuted. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And then like a few minutes later, it'll be like, Pikachu is fainted.
Yeah, and you had to run to the Poke Center.
I haven't really been playing anything until what we're talking about today. I just kind of, I don't know if I was in a rut or maybe just wanted to watch more things, or I mean, I was keeping up with like some Halos and Call of Duties, but I wasn't really playing anything new, and I think I kind of maybe just needed like a little like 2-week break, and I'm kind of now like reinvigorated and ready to go. So after this, I've got some plans for some other things. But as far as what am I up to for anything else, I just came back from Phoenix. I went and saw a DJ called Chami, who is from France. He does like house music. My cousin and brother both like DJ and stuff like that too, so they're really into that. So they invited me out there to go out there. We went with Christina, had like a really, really good time. We're actually on the front, so if any of you guys are fans of that, if you look up the Phoenix show and all the shit he's posted, you can see us right there in like the front row of everything.
I wish you would have told me that. I would have tried to get some footage.
I completely forgot about it until like right now.
What about trying to get it in the end?
We're like dead center, so that was pretty cool. The movie he's talking about, and I'm very interested on your opinion because I did have some problems with it, but overall I actually really liked it. They did finally add Mortal Kombat Legends onto the HBO now.
Yeah, the second one, Battle of the Realms.
Yeah, Battle of the Realms. So the sequel to Scorpion's Revenge, which was the first one. I really liked the first one. I really liked this one a lot too. I think my big problems with it were, though, that they kind of do almost what you do with a live action movie, and I always think it's a mistake, is you take elements from like 2, 3, and 4 and try to combine like everything all together versus it's an animated movie, especially the budget can't be as crazy as a live action. Just focus on 2, and if you're going to take a little bit from 3 to kind of get maybe a character or something like that, that's fine. But don't take like story elements and try to jam this all together.
Yeah, when I was watching it, I mean, this is R as fuck. Like, they definitely, it starts off being pretty gory and pretty,
that Shao Kahn fatality?
Yeah, that was
badass.
Well, I guess we'll do light spoilers. It's been out for a little bit, so if you guys don't want to hear more about it, skip forward. But I just had an issue with, one, that they gave Liu Kang kind of like a Batman origin story. Like, his parents get mowed down in the alley. I don't remember that ever being a thing. The second thing I was having a problem with is, and you're a bigger Mortal Kombat fan than I am, or at least know more, is if Raiden had to lose his godhood to enter the tournament, isn't Shao Kahn a god, like an immortal god? He didn't have to lose anything?
He's just strong. He's just,
because I was looking up certain things, and people were saying he used to be the god or was the god hand of something. And that was like the biggest contradiction. They're like, well, why does Raiden have to lose it if Shao Kahn doesn't? And that was where I was like, Yeah, why does he?
As far as I always took it, and they went a little weird direction with this one by taking away Raiden's powers. I had always taken it from the games that in 2, when he does compete in the tournament, that Raiden gives up his like immortality, but he can still do like his electricity and shit like that. And I always took as Shao Kahn is just like crazy OP as fucking strong, because the way they do this, they follow almost the same thing as the game. They propose one more tournament to the gods, this one the be all end all, so that way it's, there's not going to be another Mortal Kombat. We don't have to keep defending the realms, and they accept. And that's why Raiden jumps into this tournament, is because it is, okay, this is the be all end all. Whether or not I could die, I have to be in this thing. Give my life for Earth.
Yeah, I just was reading different things, and it kind of caught my attention. The other thing I had an issue with was, like, when Shao Kahn was fighting Jax, like, they like, spared all the good guys. Like, all the good guys, like, when Johnny Cage gets his ass beat, he doesn't die. When Jax doesn't die. And yet they fucking murder Stryker. Like,
yeah.
He got fucking annihilated. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess he was, like, the fodder. They had to get rid of him. But, like, Shao Kahn should have, like, destroyed Jax.
Well, that's why it's a spoiler again. If you don't want to know, then that I was glad. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, oh, that kind of sucks that you're not seeing whatever. But maybe they'll be in 3 because these characters are in 3. But then when he fucking ripped Kung Lao in half, I'm like, oh, fuck, never mind. All right, that's badass.
There goes that. And then the final thing I would just say is that it's like with the ending with the one, and they finally get the thing and he comes out. That seems like it almost could have been a separate movie that they did. And it feels like, and I mean, I get what they had to do in time, but like it feels like they kind of rushed that part. And I'm like, well, that could have been a cool whole movie to watch. I'm watching these bad guys and good guys team up to try to fight this final guy, but they kind of just like peppered it in the ending, and I'm like, okay.
Well, that's what I was saying. That's why they did too much, because 1 is the first tournament, 2 is that second tournament where they agree to it, otherwise he could not. 3, Shao Kahn loses that tournament and invades Earth anyways, and that because he doesn't think the gods are going to do anything, and he thinks he has more power than them, and then they win. And then 4 is with Shinnok and stuff like that. So that's why they said they took elements of like 2, 3, and 4 and kind of like bound them all together, and that it just seemed like, okay, there's too much going on now to where that's why it's like peppered in. Like
overall, though, I think it's a pretty good movie. I saw a lot of people giving it bad reviews, but I'm like, it's a solid like C+, B- movie for me.
No, I really liked it. The other thing I've been watching, and I'm gonna go see them next month in Phoenix, is Under Oath just dropped their newest album, Voyeurist, and it's an absolute fucking banger. They do have a documentary. There's 1 episode of it up right now. It's about an hour long on YouTube. So if you're into them, into their music, you want to see the writing process and all the struggles and everything they had to go through, watch it. I thought it was absolutely amazing. And I think they're doing like an episode a week. And then, of course, we're keeping up with Fett and Friends.
Fett and Friends. Awesome. Let me pull this over here and get into our main story. So guys,
what is our main story?
Well, let us know if you guys have done anything, and if you guys have played any games, watched any cool movies, or recommend anything, leave it in the comments down below and let us know. But as far as our main story, guys, this is about Pokemon Legends Arceus, which is the newest game out from the Pokemon series, which is why I was playing Diamond, and I beat it like right before this one came out, so I was all kind of like in a Pokemon mood. So this is developed by Game Freak and was released on January 28, 2022. So if you guys aren't familiar, if you're unfamiliar with Pokemon or you haven't played one in a while on paper, you might hear this name and just think, oh, it's another Pokemon game. A lot of fans have been kind of criticizing, and this company should be criticized for this, is that they've been in a rut of just repeating the same formula. It's been make a game, do the same exact thing, make 2 versions of it, get paid, and then 10 years later, remake it, call it Brilliant Diamond, call it, Shining Pearl. So this particular game, though, they're finally kind of breaking the mold, and they're kind of going in a new direction, and it's clear that fans are supporting that because they've actually been, this game alone has been breaking records for sales in certain outlets, and it's also highly pre-ordered. So I wanted to read this real quick just to put it in context for you guys before we dive into it about some of the behind the scenes of what's going on. So this comes to us from Screen Rant, and it says, it should come as no surprise that Pokemon Legends Arceus is also a big hit on the Nintendo eShop. Pokemon Legends Arceus is currently the #1 game on the eShop charts in the US, Japan, and United Kingdom. Pokemon Legends Arceus positive reviews have shown the critics are largely impressed, but the adoration for the fanbase is such that people likely still would have bought the game in droves, even if it had been more polarizing, even if it had a more polarizing response. This is evidenced by Pokemon Sword and Shield, which are some of the biggest Nintendo Switch games, despite the many issues that fans have with the release. But if you guys look at the article earlier, this kind of goes into where the direction of the new Pokemon is going. So, despite only launching today, January 28th, Pokemon Legends has already broken a retail store record while topping online storefronts globally. The release of a new mainline Pokemon video game is always a big deal, and the best-selling Nintendo Switch game list has several entries in the series, but the launch of Pokemon Legends Arceus is perhaps performing above expectations. Pokemon Legends Arceus is the first mainline entry in the series to go in a new direction with its storyline. The goal of this game is to explore the wild frontier of the Pokemon world and catch Pokemon in an era where they ruled the land as humans had not yet colonized the region. Instead of playing as a kid going on their Pokemon journey in the modern day, Pokemon Legends Arceus is set in the Haisu region, which is an ancient version of the Sinnoh region from Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. First of all, whoever wrote that, you could tell is like short on words for their article, because they say Pokemon Legends Arceus every like 30 seconds, so I hated reading that. But Andrew, I gotta ask, how do you like that, that their sales are doing big, they're doing great pre-orders, they're high on eShop, also that they're moving in a new direction, and that it's an origin story? I mean, give me your initial thoughts on that before we dive into the game itself.
I actually love that it's an origin story. That was something that I think drew me to this the most, because I want to see, like, okay, before there was everything else, like, how did they get, what Pokemon are whatever figured out. And it's very evident in this, because when you play this a lot, they tell you straight up, as soon as you go to the village, if you don't pass this trial, we're going to cast you out there to die. These Pokemon are dangerous. We don't know what these Pokemon could do. Pokemon are extremely dangerous. They're hurting people. So it's actually really cool to see that. And I thought that was going to be the most intriguing thing to me, that I could easily see. That alone sold me on it. So I'm one of those people who went out and bought it just based off the strength of the idea that it's not just these established grounds, that it's something new. And that has nothing to do with even the gameplay changes. That's just story alone.
Yeah, because the story is, you're a kid from like a modern contemporary world who like falls through like a time-space gap. And
they stole it from Square Enix in the game?
Yeah, and you land in this world, and it seems to be like the origin point of when they started, when Pokemon started being Pokédex and collected. Like, there's still, ball technology is still new, and like Andrew was saying, I thought it was way interesting that these guys are like not only fearful of Pokemon, right, because some of these guys go out there and they say they get their ass beat, but some of these guys are like kind of like these ancient groups that are like almost like worshiping them. Some of these guys are like treating these things as like sacred protectors and almost like godlike beings, which is kind of interesting to see where that eventually goes. So it is kind of cool that they take this step back into like origins of it. But I do kind of want to point out that what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of the big differences that are between like the traditional style RPG Pokemon games versus what they're adding into this one, and then kind of just think or just say whether or not we think it's a pro or a con. So what the biggest difference in this is that this game is really Pokédex focused, with tasks and a star system that kind of checks your progression as well as your balance with your Pokemon. So normally that would be a gym system and an Elite Four battle system. So the old games would kind of focus on getting your guys, battling through, collecting badges, and then that kind of checks your progression. And then there's an Elite Four. So none of that's in this game. Instead, they've replaced it with tasks, which are a really interesting concept. It's when you catch a Pokemon, there's certain things you have to do X number of times. Example being, with the Pokemon, it could be like, watch him use Bite 1 time, 2 times, 5 times, 10 times, 20 times. Capture him X amount of times. Defeat him X amount of times. So it's a really different way to progress through it. And then when you do more of that, as well as catching guys, you get experience points that lend you to get your new star points that are required to move through the game. So compared to the old way, do you like this any better, any less? Pro or con for you?
I like the old way more, because this one can get a little grindy at times, because some of them, and it is cool and I like it, and it kind of flows with the new gameplay system, because catching Pokemon now is easier and funner than ever. We'll get to that, but that plays also into the Pokédex, which I like is a book. It's not like a machine or anything like that, so it's like a handwritten like memo thing. But it's like, catch 25 Badoos. It's like, come on, dude, do I really got to catch fucking 25 Badoos? Like, 15's not enough for you guys to figure out whatever. So, I mean, that's a smaller gripe. But with how easy it is, sometimes that does get a little tedious of like, all right, I got to catch everything out here at least multiple times. So I'm catching everything I see, even though I'm not going to use them. But now I'm going to go back and I got to get more supplies and then head back. So you're kind of treading back and forth. What I do like about these tasks, though, is when you're doing them, it doesn't just contribute to, okay, now I'm leveling up my stars so that way I can get better rank and do better things. It also levels up your Pokemon too.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool because that's always been my bigger thing is I'm older now. I've got a show to juggle. I've got a family to juggle. I got work to juggle. I don't have time to sit here and grind out to raise these Pokemon. So I feel like the leveling in here, especially added with these tasks, is better than ever.
Yeah, the tasks are really cool. I agree with you, especially when it's I got to catch 25. There's 240 something Pokemon in this game. If you got to catch every one of them 25 times, I could see that being extremely tedious. And I guess I don't know if we said this at the top, but this isn't we haven't beaten this game. This is our early review of it. We're
I got 8 hours in.
We're a handful of hours into this game, so this is pretty much our first impressions of the game. So if you guys feel free to agree or disagree with any of it and leave it in the comments below. But yeah, I agree that I like the task system in terms of doing moves a certain amount of times, but as far as the catching and all that stuff goes, it does become a bit tedious. Although I'm going to put it in a pro though. I do like that they came up with something that's different than gym leaders and an Elite Four. Is this the best thing they could have done? I think we kicked around some ideas, but I do like that it's something new. So the next thing that I wanted to point out that is different from it is, and Andrew was kind of leading into it, is the combat and the catching is different. So a lot of the old games was pretty much you run around, you get into the grass, and then you wait for something to hop out, and then you can fight. Where this one, all the enemies are visible, so you can actually kind of plan which one you want to go after and see, which I think they kind of did this with Let's Go and Sword and Shield, where you can start seeing the Pokemon on the maps. But the difference is with this one is now there's options of how you want to start engaging with Pokemon. You can either sneak up on them and go from tall grass and sneak behind them and throw a ball when they're not looking to catch them. You can use certain kind of berries to distract them or smoke bombs, and you can also battle them. And then when you battle them, your Pokemon now have options, different things to do in battle. Instead of just doing the same 4 moves over and over, you can now switch them to an agility move and a strong move, which sacrifice double PP, but it gives you different options in terms of hitting harder or going faster. So I don't know, pro or con in terms of the more options you have to explore battling and catching.
I like that. I feel like that feels more refreshing than ever, especially because I can catch these Pokemon without having to fight them, which makes sense, especially for low-leveled ones. Or now that I can make, I think it's the Great Balls, the next one you get, the stronger balls you get, you can throw them at whoever and get them. So I actually like that more than ever. And I do feel like the combat is, even though it's the same as it kind of was with you're doing whatever moves, I do feel like it does feel a little bit more refreshing, especially with, do I want to sacrifice agility? Do I want to make it stronger? Plus, you can move around the whole time while you're fighting. So, I'm moving there trying to get the screen so that way I can see everything just right. And I'm really, really enjoying it. And I think what I like even more that they've added to it as a part of the combat is when your Pokemon, level up, you don't have to sacrifice, okay, I got to get rid of this attack now to make room for other attacks. Your Pokemon remember everything that they've ever learned, and you can just choose the 4 that you want them to use. And if you decide later on, oh man, I don't want my guy to be like this, I want to be like that, you can just go back and change it, and it's no problem.
Yeah, I don't know why. That should be something moving forward, even if they don't stick with this style of game, if they go back to the old traditional ones, that should be something that's in all of them now. Being able to relearn moves without having to go find the old guy in the town. Because, I think this is a huge pro for them, that there's more ways to tackle combat as well as catching. So, kudos to them, because it's you have different options, and that's awesome. Because, the more you play the game, the heavy ball is one that's really cool. You can sneak up behind them. You can't throw it that far, but you have a much better success chance if you're closer to them and sneaking up from behind them. So I really love that they're giving you different ways to experiment with catching.
I can't tell you how many times I think I'm throwing a fucking Pokeball and there'll be a heavy ball by accident, so it goes 2 feet in front of me instead of the and it makes a loud thud. Or I'll think, all right, cool, I'm gonna go catch this fucking Pokemon right now. I'm gonna blindside his ass, and I throw out my Quilava by accident.
Yeah, because what they do is there's 2 different kind of menus. So when you hit X, it'll swap between what Pokemon you have, and you can cycle through those.
I love that. Or
you can hit X again, and it'll go to your items, and you can siphon through what Pokeballs you want to do. So it does take some getting used to, because I've done that plenty of times where I think I'm ready to throw a Pokemon out, and I'm wasting Pokeballs. I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? The next thing I want to point out that they've done a little bit different is evolving Pokemon. So in the past, when your Pokemon's ready to evolve, it'll start, it'll go, hey, look what's happening. I don't think I've ever stopped it, and I think you could. I think if you hold like B when it's evolving, you can stop the evolution, but I don't think I've ever done that. This one, instead of it automatically happening, it'll let you know that it's triggering, and if you want, you can. And the reason I'm assuming that you don't have to do it right away is because as soon as you level them up, it becomes a new Pokemon with new tasks. So if you still want to finish your old task with your Pokemon, then you have an option to do that. And then once you max out the Pokédex for that Pokemon, then you can evolve them. At least that's the biggest thing I can think of. But I do like the option of never having to do that at all. If you like that guy and you want him to stay that way, then you have the option to do that.
Well, if you're doing the task, you'll have 40 of them anyways in there. But
well, not your primaries, though. Because I fucked up. I evolved them too soon. I was like, oh, cool. And I'm like, oh, shit, I didn't finish...
I didn't even think about that.
I didn't finish Cyndaquil's task, but I'm like, well, hopefully you get another one, because one of the tasks are like, collect 4. I'm like, well, you've got to collect them later on.
I did the same thing, and I just now thought about that. I'm like, oh, I didn't even check his task. But yeah, I like that a lot, too, because now you don't have to sit there and mash B every time you get out of the battle and he gets a little bit of XP. But the only time I've ever thought about that, and the only Pokemon, I don't know if it's ever really affected anyone else, but I know in the OG Pokemon and some of the later ones, because I think it's even in Fire Red, if you have Pikachu I think evolves at like 30, but you have to get him to 37 to learn Thunderbolt. If you don't learn...
No, Pikachu evolves with Thunderstone. He doesn't have levels. But if you change it, if you do him too soon,
maybe that's what it is.
He misses a move or something like that.
It's some electric Pokemon, I think it's Pikachu maybe, that if you do it too soon, he won't learn Thunderbolt, and you don't learn that until like a later level. Actually, maybe it's not Pikachu. Maybe it was a fire. I don't know, but I do know some of the older Pokemon had that issue where like you don't learn whatever the strongest move is until a little bit later on, but your Pokemon would have evolved before that, and the next form of that Pokemon won't learn that move.
Yeah. There was a whole thing where, because that's the thing, you want to max them out quick, but in this one now you have the option to like sit there, and I like it because it lets you kind of just still play with the guy that you actually like instead of just boosting them up for power as quick as you could.
I love that it's not in your way, like beating you over the head, like, hey, don't forget you got someone to evolve. Hey, don't forget. Like your Pokemon, just when you look in your menu, you'll see he's glowing like a yellowish kind of orange color, like flashing like that, and that's all I needed. Like I think that this game has some of the best, I guess maybe like hint system as far as what you would call it, because I'm not constantly battered with like, don't forget you have this here, don't forget you have, like notifications all over the fucking place telling me what to do, or things I may have forgotten, or things I just don't feel like checking. Like it's clean.
Yeah, it's definitely not like a training wheel hold your hand game. Like there's a lot of things in this game that like it makes you figure out yourself. We were even talking about like in the beginning when there's these trees that have berries and these rocks you can break. I don't think in the game it ever tells you what to do to get them. Like you
I had no clue.
You can talk to guys that explain that. But some of this stuff you just got to figure out. So I do like it's not that it's a hard game. It's just that it seems like it's not hold your handy anymore like the traditional ones have been. So
yeah, there were some things I even figured out, like how you can like warp around to between your bases and stuff. I figured that out before the game even told you that, and it didn't tell me that until like 30 minutes later. I'm like, oh, okay, so I guess it does tell you eventually.
Well, that's a good one because we're getting into the transportation mode, and also the world mode. So in the old ones, it was kind of, you look at the map, it's kind of, here's the town, it's an A to B run, it's a straight little spot that you would see on your map that you would do. This game is open world now, and kind of like how Sword and Shield was, you can kind of run around and do certain things, but now that you have this open world, they've given you Pokemon mounts that you can actually collect, which there's going to be 5 of them. It's going to be Wardeer, Ursaluna, Basulegion, Bravery, and Sneasler, and I think we're both up to the point where we have the
Wideer.
The Wideer, and it's kind of cool because it's going to be some guys that can run across things, some guys, and I'm sure you've seen it in the trailer, some of them that can fly and things like that. So that's going to be one way that your guy can get around without just running, which is fun to do because you can just sprint pretty much forever. But the other thing, like Andrew was saying, is you can start setting up these camps and stuff. And there's different spots in each region, because there's about like 6 different places you can go to, and then within them you can set up these camps. And I think I'm with you too. I didn't know you could fast travel until I was just hovering over and clicking it, and it's like, oh, do you want to cruise there? And I was instantly teleporting. So I would say it's a huge pro. I like that they were able to add this kind of thing and not make it such a linear traveling experience.
Yeah, I really like it a lot, especially with like how open it is. There's a lot of room to explore. I don't want to say, though, that it feels empty, because, again, I'm only 8 hours in, so I don't know if there's more. But I kind of wish there was more people out and about doing things to make it feel like it's really a world. Like, why am I the only explorer that's around here except for the people that show up during cutscenes? Like, a random trainer for me to battle or something like that, maybe I kind of miss that. Or those people out there like, hey, let's test our metal. Or even another village. Like, it can't just be this one village, can it? Like,
apparently it can. So, which is another interesting point that they did different is the towns. There is only the one main town, like so far, saying. And, the old ones, you'd be able to have like shops and centers and stuff. And the new one, what it is they do, it's like these camps that'll let you do everything you could do in a normal town. But the reason I like the big village is that I feel like that village is fleshed out. There is more people in it. There is like the pasture that you can go change your Pokemon with.
I love the pasture.
There are little houses and stuff that people would like theoretically live in. And it's a big enough to where like it makes sense that people would live in this. It's not like it's not like you go to a town in Viridian City and there's like 3 buildings, no houses, and like 2 people there. So this one does kind of make a little more sense. But I'm with you. Pro in terms of the way it looks and the way they've done it. Con in terms of that it's the only one.
And maybe that's the thing too, is like that's a perfect example, like Viridian City, where there's like 3 things. With how good they did this first one, that made me want more. Like, I want to see other cultures. Like how you play in the other games. Like when you go to the flower, like in Gold, like when you go to the flower town, that's one of the ones I always remember. Is there's like lots of trees. There's a big fucking flower bed, and the place you go battle the chick is like a big like garden thing. I want to see something like that, but maybe that's sequel talk.
Yeah, definitely, hopefully some good sequel talk. So that's what I had as far as terms like what's different compared to the old ones. Now let's get into like what they've added that's new. To start off, which is one of the biggest things, is they've added a crafting system, and crafting can generally be looked at as either extremely boring or extremely overwhelming. Like a lot of people, when you play some games, they don't even mess with the crafting system. Like Witcher, I mean, I liked it in that, but a lot of people I know didn't really even like mess with it because there was just so much to doing it. Where this one is kind of like an entry level crafting system. You slowly pick up recipes. There's a lot of things to find, especially when you're knocking down berries and stuff out of the trees. Because every time you beat Pokemon, they'll leave an item behind, which is used in some sort of recipe. Because you're mainly going to be crafting a lot of potions and a lot of probably revives if you're getting knocked out a lot, but a lot of Pokeballs to complete a lot of these tasks. So I like that they're adding a more RPG element into an already RPG game. So what do you think, pro or con?
I think that it's a pro. I actually really like it, but I do think it introduced like the biggest what came first, the chicken or the egg, because they are the very first time they invented these Pokeballs. Even some people are against it because they're like, oh, we don't. I guess Pokemon have always had a thing that they could shrink is how they explain that they fit in the Pokeball. So it's never been like, oh, I capture you and it's like a big world in there or whatever. They explain it some weird way. But
yeah,
when you look at the Pokeball, the bottom of the Pokeball is made out of wood as it should be. But when you run into a Voltorb, the Voltorb looks exactly like the Pokeball does. Red on the top with a wooden almost looking base.
Oh yeah, I remember
And then in later Pokemon, Voltorb looks like a Pokeball does. It looks like it's made of metal with red and the white on the bottom. So were they copying the Voltorb by making the Pokeball, or is the Voltorb copying these Pokeballs that he's never seen before? So that clues right there. The Voltorb had to have come first.
Well, I'm remembering and correct me if I'm wrong. I thought Voltorb was a man-made Pokemon.
I would have to look that up. I don't remember that.
Well, I remember that like in Red or Gold or something like that. It was like I thought he was like he was man-made or something. But now that wouldn't make sense if he's alive back when there were still.
Oh, I do think I remember that, something like that, or like they were working on Pokeballs that came to life or something like that. And that always explained that old one.
There's got to be some whole weird Voltorb stuff now, because now we got to look into that, because none of that makes sense anymore.
Now it's retcon. It's one of those. What do they call those things? Oh, a mandala effect.
Yeah, the mandala effect. So the crafting system is new. The other big thing that I actually absolutely love in it is that they're adding quests. There's a mainline goal you can do, and you can hit it and you can track it and you can go follow it. But there's also side quests you can do. There's people in the town that will ask you to do things, and those can be like, example would be like, can you get me 5 Oran berries? Can you show me a full Pokédex on Starly? Can you get me a Bidoof? Like, so they're not just the same fetch quest over and over. There's actually a couple different things you can actually do, and in my mind, it's a huge pro. It makes this game more RPG to
alive.
Me, in the right sense. It's like, because you're this new kid and like all these people are looking to you to get this done, but all these people are starting to hear about you, so you start getting all these things you can go do. And I don't know, I think it was a really cool edition. So big pro for me.
Yeah, I love it, and I love that one of the first ones you do is in front of your main base. There's a guy who wants a Wurmple, and when you give it to him because he wants to, I forget what Wurmple evolves into. I know it's like the butterfly Pokemon, but I don't remember the name of it. Obviously,
You
not
pick the
Butterfree.
names?
Yeah, you pick the names, and it's Beauticia, something else, and Bugene, and I chose Bugene. I thought that one fucking killed me. So I was like, I gotta choose that.
That was a
so
Geno
funny.
shout out. I did the same thing. The other thing that they've added new is, and I think they did something similar to this with Sword and Shield, because I know they had the big team battles when you fight like the big mega Pokemon. But in this one, they've added what's called Alpha Pokemon. Which
Love it.
Are when you're running around a certain area, there's going to be a lot of a type of Pokemon, but then you're going to find this big ass version that's got red eyes and usually like 20 levels higher than the neighboring Pokemon around them. One of the first ones I remember running into was the Rapidash that's on the far left, the Snorlax that's on the far right. So I really like this because it adds a whole new challenge, and it's like these RPGs where it's, like, and I hate bringing it back to like the old days, but it's like that's when you knew you were going in like a little too far, or a little too far into the game, is that you start running into these big guys, and then once you're leveled up, then you go take them on and you catch them. And
even leveled up,
yeah,
though.
Catching them's awesome. I've caught about 4 or 5 so far, and they stay at their level. I mean, for the most part, I think the Cricketune, the one you have to do for the mission, I don't, because he's 20 something. I think he comes down to like 14. But the Rapidash, when I caught him, was 40. Stayed at a 40. So if you can get him with low level guys, like I had 15 to 20s, you can get a 40 and he stays in your party at a 40.
It almost seems like some of them are different too, because we were looking at Craig's. Craig and I both have the Rapidash. Mine actually knows the ability Hyper Beam, and Craig's does not for some reason.
He has some other moves, and so I kind of like that though. I don't, because that means not all games are similar. There is some sort of like a random generator there for that.
But I do like the Alpha Pokemon, and they will kick your ass. Like even though he's too strong for me because I didn't have like the level 40 and up badge, I accidentally caught like a level 43 Machoke easily too with the Pokeball. Just got him. And I threw him out there. I'm like, okay, he should be able to take these attacks while I sit here and just fucking hammer this guy with Pokeballs. And he'll one shot him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they're tough to beat. So it is kind of like an added experience to go fight these kind of bosses. And one of the last things I noticed that they've added was the merit point system. So if you look on your map, you can find things like lost bags and lost satchels that players have dropped. And if you go find, have you found any of these yet?
I did, but I don't know what to do with the points.
Okay, so what you do is when you go to the internet, there's an option to cash them in. And when you do it, you get good merit points. And then in the town, there's a shop that's on the right. And you can only spend it on merit. You can only use merit points to buy stuff. And there, because I've caught a few Eevees, that's where you buy dust stones. And that's where you buy certain kind of like evolution stones.
Where'd you find Eevee? I haven't even ran into Eevee.
Oh, I've got an Eevee. And I'm wondering if you can trade too, because I haven't found any spot to trade. I found a couple Eevees. But one of the things I saw on there was this thing called the link cord. And what it is you use it on any Pokemon. So like, for example, Geodude turns into Graveler, but you can't get Golem unless you trade it with somebody, or Machoke can't be Machamp without trading it with somebody. You can buy this thing for 1,000 merit points called the Link Cord. Use it on them, and it'll evolve anybody that needs a transfer with a person, and it counts as the transfer, which I thought was a really cool idea.
That's cool, because I have a Kadabra, and I think that was the only way you get Alakazam, and I think Haunter and the Gengar is the same, and I have both of them.
So if you're looking to get it, do the merit points, get the Link Cord, and then that's how you can evolve them.
That's cool, because I was thinking that too. I was like, that was my first thoughts when I saw this Pokemon. So I was like, I wonder if they took that out and they just naturally evolve now, or if it's some fucking weird ass way.
Yeah, because we're not that far into the game. Because dude, I'm seeing other reviews where people are done with this, so those have to be early copy people. But maybe later on there is a spot you get to that you can do a network link trade. But I haven't found that yet. So that's everything that I've at least pointed out that's different and new. Is there anything you think I missed? Is there anything you want to add? Is there anything you think we didn't cover?
No, I think you added. I think what we went over is like pretty sufficient. I can't really think of anything else that they so far from my experience that would make it like any better or less. I mean, again, there's a few. Have you had any problems gameplay wise? If you don't mind getting negatives, do you have any negatives?
Let's get in the negatives. So that's perfect, because I think as far I haven't had any glitches. If that's what you mean. Negatives, I would say the main thing is that, and I think we were hinting on it earlier. For as big as this open world is, there's not enough in it. Like, and what I was reading is that there's no dungeons, there's no puzzle solving. It's still just this kind of bleak, bland world. I don't know. Have you read anything that like was weird that happened to you?
I had one thing like where, and I thought I was gonna have to quit. Like after you beat that Cleavor in the woods, like, and your person walks away and checks like that weird phone thing or whatever they had.
Oh, the arc phone.
She got stuck walking in one spot.
Oh yeah, I haven't ran into anything like that.
And I could hear the phone ringing, so I was like, all right, I'll let it go. I hope I don't have to fucking quit. And then it's like she fell from the sky and landed in front of me. That's a small thing. But my bigger complaint, that's really my biggest complaint, is that I'd like to see more villages, more things like more people spread out. But is that playing, and the game does look good. It's a very good looking game, but I'm noticing too, like, I get like a lot of like frame rate drops playing on my TV.
Yeah.
And it's just like, come on, like really, like, and it does it a lot, not to where it's unplayable, but you notice it go like, almost like down and then fix itself really quick, and it does it like all the time.
Yeah, one of the biggest things I was reading was
I don't know if it's a. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was going to say, that because this is why I was kicking it to you, because I have not played it undocked. I don't know if that's a docked only issue or not.
When I play it, because I did play it like in bed on the Switch, never had any issues. As soon as I play it docked on TV, that's when I start noticing that. And a lot of people were saying is like, we live in a world where Breath of the Wild is one of the best looking running games, and
that's what I was thinking.
There's no excuse then for why this game runs the way it does. Like, we live in a world where Switch can run extremely well and have very good games running on it that look and run beautifully. And Breath of the Wild is the perfect example. The fact that this game doesn't have anywhere remotely as near as many things as Breath of the Wild does, I don't know why it's dropping like this. You know what I mean? There's no excuse. And I know that was a big thing that people were complaining about.
And again, it's not that makes it unplayable. It's just I'd be remiss to not have to mention something like that.
Right. And the other thing, and again, we're not done with the game, is that from what I was reading and gathering, is that the game's about 30 hours to get to an ending. And then once you beat it, that's not like the real true ending. Apparently, there's another 30 plus hours after that you need to do to get what they call the true ending. And the more I read into it, it just sounds like I've read two different things. One was that's when the game opens up and becomes a lot better. The other thing is that it's almost a requirement to get the true ending, that you have to do this grindy collectathon of getting all these different things that you need to beat the game. And that's where a lot of people, or I can't say a lot, the reviews I'm seeing is like, that's an issue. Like, a Pokemon game shouldn't have a requirement that's needed to beat a game that's based on what you can find and what you can't find. So I was talking with Andrew, I probably will stop after the first ending and dabble in it, but I don't know if I'm going to grind out 30 more hours into a true ending scenario. What do you think? I know we were talking about it earlier.
I felt the same way, and I mean, I'm of the mind, like, if it was like Pokemon Gold, like, after you beat Pokemon Gold, you have a long trip, whatever, then it opens up a whole new region, and even though you're doing the same thing, it's not a collectathon. I don't have to just run around grabbing random shit. If it's just you playing the game, maybe beating people and doing this or that, then that's fine. But if it's the collectathon, like, where you're looking around for, like, those purple flames and stuff like that, if it's the wisp, if I'm just gathering random shit, then no, I don't want to do that for another 30 hours.
Yeah, so overall, I would say, and give me your score too, I would say this game is about a 7.5 for me at the moment, which, you know, a lot of people think a 7's bad, and it's not. There should only be a handful of 10s and 9s. The average good game should be around a 7 and an 8, and this game is a good game. And if this is where the new Pokemon games are going to start moving in this type of direction with this kind of open world, open system battle and crafting, then this is a good first start. It's not the best. We're pointing out a couple of things that it would need to be better, but out of everything that I've had that's a negative, none of it's not making me want to play it. I think the pros that we've listed way outweigh the negatives that we're having. So
right.
I don't know. For now, it's about a 7.5, and if you're a Pokemon fan, I would say get it and play it.
I feel the same way. I'm about like 7.5, and I haven't played Pokemon in a long time, but it doesn't change the fact that I'm having a blast. I'm having fun. Like like I said, when I played it yesterday, I started at 8. I didn't go to bed till like 4, at like almost like 5 in the morning, and I got off at like 4 o'clock.
Oh yeah.
So I at no point was ever like, dude, this is fucking boring. Like, this is lame. I can't believe I'm just doing this just so I can talk about it on the show. Like, I didn't want to put the game down. I wanted to keep playing and keep doing what I was doing.
Nice. So that is our, guys, again, early impressions, first review of Pokemon Legends Arceus. You know, take it for what you will. If you're further than us, let us know what you think. But, you know, we're both in the second part of the region, and so far, so good.
I think final opinion, and I'd have to ask you too, maybe what you would want more out of it. I feel like this is a perfect game to like, all right, we figured out how we're going to kind of do some things. We'll perfect it on the sequel.
What's on that? What?
That this is like a perfect stepping stone for a sequel.
For sure. I think I think they're moving completely in the right direction, and they're going to get enough backlash from this of the bad things that they're going to know exactly what to fix for the next one.
I think that's what I'd like to see the most after this, because I am enjoying it, is a sequel, but not go back traditionally, but I want to have the villages with the gym battles, or maybe me fight like a leader and an elder or someone like that before they start doing gyms as a rite of passage or something. But I want to keep it in that, like, I don't know, that Edo or like ancient Japan style timeline. I far prefer that.
Is that your question? Did you ask me what I wanted to see in the next one?
Yeah, what would you like to see?
I was so focused on what the riff was going to be, I completely missed it. Because then when you said it again, I was like, oh, wait. He's asking me what I'm asking what would be in the next one. Yeah, I think that they need to incorporate some type of gym badge or Elite Four system, but that shouldn't be the main focus. You know what I mean? I would like to see like a bigger region and collecting things like that. As far as what else they'd be adding, it's kind of hard to say because this is new ground for them. This is something that I know Sword and Shield fell flat for a lot of people. So, when that came up and it was like, oh, let's add open world in this, like that didn't really make Sword and Shield any better. The fact that they're being more innovative with this one, the crafting system, I think, I guess could get better. I feel like I have a lot of items that I'm not doing anything with.
Same.
So I don't know if that picks up a little bit more later. I don't know, maybe a bike to start with, because like some version of a bike versus like a mount, like something like bamboo sticks rolled up with wooden spokes or something.
Yeah, keep that time period, but yeah, I like that.
something a little faster than the running, but yeah, it's hard for me to say what I would want to be in the next one outside of just there needs to be more to explore. There needs to be something built, like some buildings or something
to make it feel alive.
Yeah, people to be out there to run into. Sorry, man, I was focusing on this and I thought you were wrapping it up. So leave it down in the comments below, guys. What do you think should be added to the game if you've played it so far? So
with that, I'm ready for riff.
All right, guys. So we're gonna move into riffing it up. Andrew, why don't you start us off?
I'll go first. So there's a lot of rumors floating around, and take them that they are rumors, is that Xbox is working with Certain Affinity, studio featuring Max Hoberman, formerly of Halo, and other veterans of the industry, on a Monster Hunter-like game. So I'm actually really excited for the idea of something like that, because I love Monster Hunter. I played other ones. The one that I really beat was Monster Hunter Iceborne, because it was finally on Xbox and not on like a Nintendo console or something. So I really enjoyed it, and to kind of have to, I don't remember when that game came out. I think it came out at like the start of last generation, maybe a little bit later. And it was a beautiful game, but it's definitely been a while. That I would like to have another game like that, maybe kind of floating out there, whether it be exclusive or whatever. I don't know the terms of these deals, because it just says they're working with them. But I would love to have something else like that.
Because I'm not too familiar with Certain Affinity. Because they're calling it Codename Project Suerte, and it says that it's been in development since 2020, and they're projecting at a 2023-2024 release date. So I'd imagine that this would be like a second party deal, that it would be an exclusive. I mean, I would like that. Xbox right now is crushing it with the way they're moving it, for better or for worse. However you think these deals are going, is irrelevant. The fact is, Xbox is becoming a now extremely powerful first party game, launcher, and a Monster Hunter game that they don't have to now, launch out through Capcom. I think would be, and then take everything that you love about Monster Hunter and then just, I don't know, make it better. What would you change in what could they do that would make it any better than Monster Hunter?
Honestly, I think it's the same thing as like the Pokemon theory. Like, just make a clone of it that isn't like completely ripping it off, add your own takes to it, and I think that'd be feel fresh and fine, because it's not like Call of Duty. There's a million shooters in there. There's Monster Hunter and that's it. There's Pokemon and that's it. There's nothing else like that. So I wouldn't mind, take Pokemon and make your own thing. Like, why is there not something like that? PlayStation tried it with Smash and we saw how that turned out, but kudos to them for trying.
I still want to get the Nickelodeon All-Stars, and I want to do that Powdered Toast Man run, dude. It was on sale. It was on sale for like $20.
I forgot that game even came out.
Is that everything on that?
Yeah, that's it for that little small one.
Nice. So mine, guys, is just kind of a salute that a while back Sega was reporting that they are kind of getting out of the arcade business, and they wanted to kind of point out that it wasn't due to the pandemic. It was just bad circumstances at the wrong time, and they're finally selling off the rest of their shares for their arcade that's in Tokyo. So I just wanted to read this. This comes from PC Invasion, and it says, according to Tojo Dojo, all remaining Sega arcades will retheme to Gigo Arcades or Gigo Entertainment. Sega will still produce games for arcades and continue to support the company in that way, but it will no longer own arcade centers. It was only natural as Sega was closing arcades left and right. In a world struggling with the pandemic, it's just not a sustainable business model anymore. Sega stores across the country will be switching their store names to Gigo to express our gratitude for Sega's 56 years of history and our desire to be an oasis that quenches people's thirst for real entertainment, said Hisashi Kadaoka, I think, Gigo chairman, in a statement reported by. That's a typo on there. Okay, I thought I was tripping. We will start with Aiki Bukuro, Akihabara, and Shinjuku, then to the whole country. So I just kind of wanted to bring that people's attention. If you aren't familiar, Sega was a huge part of the arcade industry in the 80s and 90s, and they made the best arcade ports. And even though we had the video game crash of like 83, Japan never felt it, and they never had to lose arcades. And Sega had these huge, their biggest one was like a 9-story building that was just an arcade house, and it just kind of sucks that if you've never been there to Japan or Tokyo, you'll never be able to go there and experience that anymore. It is cool that someone's getting it and they're rebranding it, and it will be there in some sort of capacity, but it'll never be the Sega one, you know what I mean?
Right.
That kind of sucks. And whether you like arcades or you don't like arcades, you know, it's the fall of an empire. It's the end of an era, and I don't know. I just think it kind of sucks that. I mean, it's cool that Sega's still going to be a part of it and helping out, but the fact that it won't be like the Sega stamp anymore is just, you know, one more thing that we just had to lose. And, you know, it's a bummer.
You know, I didn't know that was a thing until you read this story. I thought you said, when you sent it to me and I was reading it, that they were just getting out of arcade games. I'm like, okay, cool. There's not really a mark for that. I didn't realize that they actually own stores. And it's funny because in every Yakuza game, there's big fucking arcades and it says Sega in big fucking letters above it. And I just thought it was them putting their own name on a building.
So, I don't know. Leave your thoughts. If you've ever been there, and, you know, let us know. If not, you know, it's just kind of a bummer that Sega's gonna, you know, had to lose something that was just been so iconic to Japan and Tokyo for so long. So that is the end of Riffs, guys. This episode did go a lot longer than I thought. I thought we were gonna cruise through Pokemon a little quicker, but I guess we had a lot to say about, you know, its shortcomings as well as all the new innovation it's done. So the questions that we had, we'll push for next week's episode. So guys, that is the end of episode 121. We'll see you next time on episode 122. So until then, my name is Craig Perales, and that is Mandrew Montemare. Cheers.
See ya.